Hi everyone, welcome to the Stitches and Scribbles channel. My name is Erin and I have a crafting podcast for you today. I have been working on lots of little projects here and there, have some things planned already for over the summer, just a whole lot of craft stuff going on, which has been really fun. I have a couple of finished objects to show you, a couple of whips, a couple of upcoming projects and things like that. And my camera is telling me it's out of battery, so I'm gonna plug that in real fast so that we can get started. All right, let's start with some finished objects first. The first finished object that I have for this month is this short-sleeved granny stitch cardigan that I made. And I used one of the Hobie cotton cakes for this. I don't remember which version of it is. But as you can see, I figured out a way to make the short sleeve cardigan so that it followed the ombre pattern. This is made in one piece with no seaming, which I was really proud of, and I will be coming out with a tutorial for this. So basically the way it's constructed, you start it kind of similarly to a granny square with this like center back. It like sits on the back of your neck. Work out to build the shoulders and the front panels, and then once it's the width that you want, you stop building out and switch to only going down. That makes no sense explaining it by itself, but I will be coming out with a tutorial for this. I think this is going to be what I use for my Door County yarn, which is sitting right there behind me in the little box. The Door County yarn is yarn that I purchased when I went on vacation to Door County, Wisconsin last spring. I found a set of hand-dyed yarn that is meant to represent the 4 seasons in Door County, and I knew I wanted to create a special piece with it, but also one that could be worn all 4 seasons. So I think a short-sleeved cardigan wrap like the one I just showed you is going to be the perfect solution for that. So I'll be using that yarn in the tutorial as well for that project. In the meantime, I'm also making another version in a different color that I'll show you in a minute when we get to whips. But it's been a really nice mindless TV project because it is just granny stitch. There's no color changing. There's not a ton of row counting. It's kind of just a build as you go project. Similar to like making a hexagon cardigan, although I would argue that this is even easier than the hexagon cardigan because you don't have to match 2 sides together. You're really only working with one measurement, which is how wide you want the shoulders and the armholes to be. And then you're kind of just working down, working flat. It's not even in the round. So it's a nice beginner garment piece for people who have maybe mastered the granny square and want to take it up a notch because it is really similar. The next finished object I have is already out as a tutorial on my channel, but this is a knitted soap saver. So basically a little bag that holds your bar of soap and then acts as the washcloth when you're in the shower. I love to make these as gifts, so they've been kind of a reoccurring item on my channel. I did a crochet one a couple months ago, and then several years ago, I believe, I did a Tunisian crochet version. So now there's all 3, so if you want to check those out, you can. But I just love these as gifts. I also love them if you are in a household where you share a shower with somebody, or if you have multiple roommates. It's kind of nice to be able to tell whose bar of soap is whose. My next finished object is a pair of socks, although now that I'm looking at these, I can't remember if I showed them last month or not, and if I maybe just forgot to move them from my whips pile, so you may have seen these already. But these are socks that I knitted for my mother-in-law. Both yarn colors are opal sock wool. The labels are all in German. I also no longer have the labels, so I don't remember what the colorway name was. I know this one, the solid blue, translated to denim blue. I don't remember what the light blue pattern was. I got these from a local yarn store in St. Louis called Seven Sisters Yarn. I believe it's Seven Sisters Yarn. Basic vanilla socks. I use the SOS sock pattern by Summerly Designs. That's kind of all I have to say about these. I love a good self-striping yarn or self-patterning yarn for socks because it makes them look really, really neat, but you don't actually have to do anything as far as creating the stripes, which is nice. My last finished object for the month is a beanie that I made for a friend. And this is my friend who went to Iceland for a business trip and came back with some Lopi wool yarn because he wanted a hat. And I thought a lot about how I wanted to construct this hat for him because he said he just wanted a plain beanie, everything else was up to me. So I did a little bit of ribbing, but then I wanted some way to put a texture in the hat and make it special for him. And I ended up doing some reading about hiding messages in knitting patterns. Specifically, I was looking at a lot of stuff from World War II where they were doing Morse code into knitting patterns. But the practice of doing that dates back to much earlier than World War II. But I thought it was just kind of a really fascinating concept. And this friend is into, I wouldn't say he's just like into history, although I think he is. It's more that he appreciates fun little details and things. So I actually used Morse code in the knit pattern to spell out his initials. I used 2-row repeats of my pattern for a dot and 6-row repeats for a dash. So it works up as his initials. And then I did kind of these double bars between letters. So when you just look at the hat, it doesn't look like there's really anything special in the pattern. It's not like you can immediately tell that it's Morse code. It's just kind of something that's hidden in there. And holding up this hat, it always looks absolutely huge, but it's a little bit big on me. His head is bigger than mine, but I kind of constructed it so that it's slightly slouchy, but that he can roll up the brim if he wants it to fit a little bit smaller and tighter. But yeah, that is probably the most interesting beanie I've ever knit, and I had a lot of fun designing it. I did take a lot of notes as I went because I'm considering making that a pattern that I release in my Etsy shop, but I'm not sure yet. I have another pattern I want to get to before I consider that, so we'll see. I do get fairly regular purchases from my Etsy shop, which is really nice, that I'm assuming some of you guys are purchasing the patterns off of my site, especially my Avonlea prayer shawl, which is just really awesome. So I'm still very much a small Etsy shop. Like, I'm not making a ton of money off of it, but it's nice that about once a week or so I get a notification that someone has purchased one of my items. So that's really fun. Moving on to whips. So my first whip, I know I talked about last month because it is my scrap basket project. So basically I'm holding a bunch of kind of funky textured scrap yarns together. This is where like my cotton scraps go, but also like anything fuzzy or textured. And I am crocheting some little baskets that I can use for storage. So this one I just kind of turned off of the base to start building up the sides of the basket. And I'm holding 5 strands of yarn together right now. That number may change as I go if I include some like really thin yarns or anything like that. But this is what it looks like so far. I'm surprised that the yarns, when held all together, don't actually look that crazy. Like, obviously it is a lot of color in there, but like some of these yarns are self-striping, some of them are variegated, some are solid colors, and there's no like weird looking patches so far. That could be because a lot of the other like solid colors are all in the like beige and teal and cream color palette, although there was some pink back where I started. But so far this has been a really fun project just to kind of use up leftovers, and it'll be functional when it's done. So I'm excited to have that ready to go in my stash. My next work in progress is the Elfberg hat by Isolde Teague. I am making this hat for a friend who's having a baby in a couple months. And I picked this pattern because this friend is a big fan of like kind of whimsical stuff, but also soft earthy tones. So the plan is to do the outside of this hat in this mineral green color. This is Lion Brand Catino yarn, by the way, so it's a cotton wool blend. But then the inside, I have a rust and a cream color, and I'm going to stripe that on the inside because this hat ends up being reversible. I'm also thinking that I might use the rust and the cream to crochet a little mushroom motif and put it on the outside of the green side of the hat. It ends up having like little ear flaps, so I thought like a little tiny mushroom on each ear would be really cute. Their nursery theme is going to be mushrooms, so I thought that that was appropriate. I'm also going to be making a matching sweater to go with this set, although I'm not 100% sure what sweater pattern I want to use at this point. My next work in progress might already have a video by the time you're watching this. I film my videos kind of out of order in that I do both my podcast episodes for the month close to the beginning of the month, even though I'm still working on projects that may come out later in the month. So sometimes I end up with a vlog of a project that comes out before a podcast episode where the project looked like it was still in progress. So that might end up being the case with this one. I'm not 100% sure when I'm going to release this yet. But anyway, this is the beginning of the daisy chain top by, I believe it's Realm Designs. It's made up of all these little flower motifs, and I realize this looks like nothing right now except a giant circle, and it's not as oversized as it seems to be. This is kind of what the width of the sweater is going to be. I did want it a little bit oversized because obviously you're wearing this over something else, and I did want it to be pretty loose and drapey, but right now it kind of just looks like nothing. But the fun twist that I put on this is I'm actually rolling a d20 to decide what color flower I do so that it's totally random. And that process has been really, really fun to work on. So I'm excited to do some more work with that soon. My next whip, there's a lot of active whips this month. Next one is another version of that Granny Stitch cardigan that I showed you earlier in purple. I am making a Christmas version. So this, you can see a little bit better how it kind of mimics the granny square shape. It just has a split in it. And then once the split kind of, or hold on, let me think of how to phrase this. So this becomes the top of the cardigan, right? So you kind of keep going until it hits the point on your arm or shoulders that you want it to be, and where this part is wide enough to be an armhole, and then you kind of just continue down instead of all the way around. So I like how this is turning out so far. This is in a Hobie holiday yarn that I purchased forever ago. It's the Christmas Universe color number 24. I don't know if they carry this exact version anymore, although they always have some sort of a holiday yarn like this that comes out around Christmas. I have 3 skeins of this, which totals to almost 1,300 yards, which I believe is more than what I used for the purple version. So this one should turn out a little bit bigger and longer than the lavender purple black version that I did. And of course, I have it in my cute little Christmassy snowflake project bag. All right, my last whip that I have to show you today. This is going to end up being a pretty quick podcast episode because despite the fact that there's a lot of projects going on, none of them require a ton of explanation or like talking about plans or they're getting their own video, something like that. But if you're like me, you probably have an emotional support water bottle. This is always on my desk. Right now it has some ice green tea in it, but I wanted a way to carry it around a little bit more easily on the go. Like if I decide to take it on a walk with me, or I just know that I'm going to be carrying it and have my hands full, even though it is really handy that it has this handle on it and it is spill proof when the lid is closed. I knew I wanted something a little bit more to be able to carry it hands-free if I wanted to. So I started by making this strap for it, and this can just loop through the handle and clasp closed. And I finished that and I was like, okay, this is good. But then I realized, well, what if the only things I want to carry around are my water bottle and like my phone and my keys? Like it'd be nice to have another little pocket or compartment on this. So I am currently in the process of crocheting a little phone pocket sleeve. I figured with a fabric like this, I can slide in like a small wallet as well too. More so just for like a credit card or something if I need to take that with me, or a little bit of cash. And keys, I keep my keys on a little wrist lanyard, so those can probably just clip directly to either the water bottle or the strap. But then on the little phone case, I'm gonna put a little lemon slice pocket on it. I'm hoping that that shows up on camera. In person, the contrast between the stitching and the lemon color is a little bit stronger, but I think that this is going to be super cute. I thought about just sewing it on, but then I realized if I leave like the top like quarter circumference open, then I can use it as like a little pocket, and it might even fit something like my earbuds inside or something like that. So I think that's going to be super cute when it's done. And then for the little bag, I'm going to do a drawstring at the top just to hold everything together, but then do like a track on the back of the bag so that it can slide over the purse strap, so that it would kind of like sit on there nicely and either be worn right here, kind of like people wearing the belt bags across their chest, or I can slide it down and have it sitting closer to where the water bottle is. So that's a very fun project, and definitely a like test of my creativity and crochet math, because I'm not using a pattern for that piece. I'm not for the granny cardigan either, but that's more, I already know what the formula is. I'm just repeating it, versus this is kind of just making it on the fly. Which both are really fun. It's been kind of a while since I've done something where I'm not just following a pattern, so it does feel good to kind of stretch that creative muscle again and work on something that I am kind of drafting as I go. So having a lot of fun with that. I think, though, that that's going to be it for this podcast. Sorry it was a short one. I hope it gave you some crafting inspiration. If you like what you saw today and you want to see more from my channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below so you can be notified of all of my crafty and book-related content right here on YouTube. And if you want to follow me on other social media sites, that information will be in the description box. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.